Hello, my name is Matthew Kang. I'm going to continue part two of our discussion on 7 things every CEO and business owners must do to protect themselves online. There are simple steps that you can take to protect your identity, your family, and your reputation. Now, as I mentioned, this is part two. If you happen to miss the first part, please put it in the chat or email me so that I can send you the link to the previous training. As we get started, I'd like to ask you a favor. If you can please put in the chat or the comment section if you can hear me and you can see me. I would appreciate that. Next is just if you have any questions, please add it in there so that we can get to your questions at the end of the presentation. So as we get started, let me share my screen. So here are 7 things. So as I mentioned earlier, open the chat, put it in the comment, and ask your question as we go along. So who am I and why the heck do you care to listen to what I have to say? Our company and a group of IT professionals is that we came together on a mission to help protect 1 million people. Our goal as part of this training is part of that mission, is to educate people to help them understand how to protect themselves. So who am I? So let me just tell you a bit my story. My name is Matthew Kang. I'm the CEO of Isudo Technology Solutions. I was born in a small country called Cambodia and survived the Khmer Rouge genocide and came here as an immigrant to the US when I was about 11 years old. I didn't know any English, but as an immigrant, most people like who came to the US is they wanted to better opportunity. And that's what my dad was looking for, was provide better opportunity and better life for me and my family in the US. My goal was, given that I didn't know any English, I go, this is my chance. I have to work hard. I have to make a difference why I'm here. So in school, I worked really hard to learn English, but English has always been the hardest subject for me. It's always been challenging to learn grammar, to learn spelling, and just to get it right. So this thing is, I always gravitated towards something that was easier for me, was math and science. So naturally, that subject led me to like technology. Technology is something that I always found that was more interesting and fun as a person compared to the other subject. So as I was going to school, I was always working on the side and doing newspaper, doing any odd jobs that I can find at a younger age. Now, one of the jobs that really got me excited was I was asked to help a business to run some coaxial cable because he was using these, he had these personal computers that were what they call the IBM clones at that time. And he was trying to network his office using a computer to network all his personal computers. So some of you are familiar with this, he was using, at that time, there was no, no internet at that time. They needed to network the computer and share files. That was their goal. And they were using Microsoft MS-DOS and Windows 3.1 was just what the operating system was at that time. So they were using a company by the name of Novell NetWare. Now, as you can see, this is a picture of Novell NetWare, and this is their file server. And that time, you see, this is the network card, and these are BNC connectors. I was helping the company to run cables to network all these PCs together. And this is the server, what it looks like, the personal computer. And this is this is the operating system. It was not graphical user interface. It was like what they call, CRT, a monitor at that time. And here's more interesting, if you're familiar with this is called Novell Network, but the software was on a floppy disk at that time. That's what we used to install the program files. This was very exciting to me. I go, wow, you can do all this on this computer. But in honesty, my goal at that time was to learn computers so I can play games on it. But for the business owner they wanted to network and share files. And that being said, I got that. That was one of the first exciting introduction to the computer and networking. After high school, I went on to engineering school. I went on to study engineering and got an engineering degree and started right after college. I went to work for a large company by the name of IBM. IBM was my first opportunity to actually get my hands on working with a real personal computer, not the clone type that I was using in high school that I got introduced to, but I got to work on these micro-channel IBM computers that were like considered top of the line at that time. Using that, during that time, a customer called into IBM and they wanted to know how to use a computer, how to make them work better efficiently. This is a small brokerage firm, an insurance brokerage firm. And they said, well, IBM, and they told the guy, sorry, we don't usually work with small business to do this type of personal consulting. We sell the hardware, but we don't do consulting for small business. We work with large enterprise. So being a new guy on the job, they said, hey, Matthew, maybe you can talk to him, see how you can help him. So I worked with him, and next thing I clicked with him, trying to tell him, hey, this is some of the things that I did. Is that what you have in mind? And say, yeah. I want to network them. I want to share files and get them to work together. And next thing I know is I'm meeting with him for lunch on a Saturday to try and figure out what he wanted and see what I can do. And I was able to help him, and he was so excited. And then next thing I know is he referred me to some other people. And I was doing this side gig, while I was working for a large corporation. After IBM, I went on and worked for another large company by the name of Cisco Systems. I worked for them because I felt like, hey, networking, I understand network. So I went to work for Cisco and started in their system engineering role to be able to sell Cisco equipment. We started routers, switches, firewalls, and network management software to large companies like telco, who were at that point were starting up businesses to set up the networks for during the .com period. So I got really excited because this is an opportunity for me to work for a large company. But after being there for a while, I felt that, hey, I'm still didn't make much of a difference. I'm just one small guy in a large corporation. And I didn't get to work one-on-one with the business owner like I did when I was consulting with IBM, that the guy that I was working with got excited because I made a difference to his business. So I ended up a team of my colleagues and I decided to start a company, which is ePseudo Technology Solutions. And that's where our company got started. And we work with a lot of small businesses to help them. And we got a small business specialist. At the same time, a group of IT folks and I were still decided that, hey, we want to help people set up all these technology and security and use the service that we provide to provide more productivity for the employee. But at the end of the day, I think the other thing is the employee needs to understand, the staff and how to use the technology and what they can do to stay safe as the internet was becoming more and more prevalent. So we decided to write a book called Managing Your Business Risk in the Cybersecurity Minefield. And this book was to help people understand what they can do and some of the case studies that we put together that we learned over the years how to do best practice. The book was received well and got #1 on Amazon. Now, that being said, that's an example why I got into IT. Here's the reason why it's important that over the years, what we learn is hackers, why do they want to come after you? Especially the business owner and the CEO or the executive of your organization. For one, we have learned that business owners or decision makers are easily identifiable. They can find you on your website. They can find you on the internet. They can find you on your LinkedIn, social media. They know who the business owner because your name is all over. The other thing is, once you identify, they know that the CEO is very busy. They have multiple hats that they're wearing. They're in sales, marketing, and technology and everything. So they can easily get distracted by so many hats that they're wearing. Furthermore, as a business owner, you have the authority to make decisions quickly, and whoever you ask to do something is likely going to execute on your authority because you said, hey, I need you to transfer some money from this account to pay this person or pay this invoice. Furthermore, as the business owner or CEO, you also have access to a lot of sensitive data, employees' data, bank information, credit card, loan information, and your business employee information. So all of this that is easily why they're targeting you. And lastly, business owners, CEOs are probably the least technical person. So they're a lot easier to bypass you because you're not as technical compared to the other people. So that being said, let me review some of the other things that we went over in the initial training. Initially, we talked about how to recognize a phishing email. Second, we talked about how to protect your password. Third, we talked about how to keep your Microsoft 365 email account safe. And then we talked about how to avoid a smishing message. And what that is, again, you can find out more on the initial training. The next thing that we're going to cover is how to avoid multi-factor authentication bypass. We talked about how to protect your personal information in this second part of the training. How to know if you are hacked. So let's get going on. The next part is how a hacker bypassing multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication is a security protocol that requires a second form of verification that a user, when they log on to a corporate network, an email, or a web app, is that considered essential for keeping the hacker out. But lately, hackers are finding clever ways to beat this. And here's how. You've seen this, usually you get an email. When you log on to your Office 365 or a web app, you get prompted to say accept or deny. So, but what happens if you get 200 of them? What are you going to do? You start popping up all this suddenly, and you're like, what do I do? Do I need to accept it? And you get a phone call suddenly from the IT support. And they said, hey, there's a problem. And I need you to fix the problem. I need you to approve one of those pop-up that you've been getting. Can you do that, please? This is what is known as MFA fatigue. This is a hack that is called MFA fatigue. So this is just one of the ways that hackers are bypassing multi-factor authentication. So let me talk about this because here's what I'm going to talk about what happened with Uber. Uber was hacked because as a result of a MFA fatigue. What happened was the hacker used MFA to push repeated login notification to an employee that allowed them to log in, and the attacker then got access to the inside network and allowed them to compromise the entire system. So Uber is just one of the latest example of how this technology is being used. Let me continue and talk about the next thing is, one of the other things that hackers are bypassing multi-factor authentication is known as a port out attack. If you're like most American, you know, your cell phone is probably one of the first things that you wake up in the morning with, you look at, and then one of the last things you look at when you go to bed. Imagine then that you're waking up to find one day your phone suddenly stops working. And then now it's become an emergency. Like, oh no, what do I do? For most consumer, you know, this is the first time that they're a victim of a port out scam. Port out scam is also known as a SIM card swap. You know, they swap out your SIM card and now you can't make phone calls. So a hacker tricks a cell phone carrier to transfer your phone number to another phone number, and now they have control of your device. I mean, they have control of your phone number and they can bypass it. And with this power, the hacker are able to get around your security protocol, like the multi-factor authentication and access to your sensitive email and social media account. So that's one of the second ways. The next thing that we're going to talk about is what we call a man-in-the-middle attack. So how this works is, let's say you receive an email that appears to be from your bank, okay, asking you to confirm your information. Now you click on the email and then you're taken to a website that looks real, that looks like, oh, asking you to log in into your username and password, and then you're requested to send a credential with a two-factor or multi-factor authentication. What the hacker does is they set up a website that looks so real that they would capture all your communication between your bank account website. And now they steal that information to every time you send, they capture that and they send that information onto the bank account. And now when you send a request, it comes back to you and you send that information to the hacker. The hacker now completely bypass your security control. This is just another example of how a hacker can use what the terminology again is called man in the middle. And this is a very sophisticated attack and it's hard to do, but it has happened. So the next thing is, how do you protect yourself from all of this thing? So we talked about, don't approve any unexpected MFA push notification. You know, when you get it, if you're not expecting it, don't approve it. If you're not logging on, it's not you. Don't just click accept, click deny. Next is that you want to enable on your multi-factor authentication to show the location where the login is coming from and what the app is trying to log on to. Because if you're getting the notification from, let's say, a location or a city that you don't recognize or you don't work in, don't approve it. The other is, don't give your MFA code to anyone. You know, that's the key thing is, you're not sure, don't give it out. Don't be using free and public internet, because a hacker can set up a fake internet site or internet Wi-Fi that allows you to connect to their account, and now they capture all your information that you transmit through them. Then don't use non-work computer to access any systems that have multi-factor authentication enabled. And lastly is don't click on emails, links on email when you are trying to log in, especially you don't know that email where it's coming from. Examine the link carefully and copy and paste it into the message. So here is an example of, let's say you're trying to log on and suddenly you see this login is coming from an unknown location in Sydney, Australia. I mean, if you're in the US, why is this login coming from Sydney, Australia? So you don't want to approve it, okay? So how can CEO, the next thing that I'm going to talk about is we talked about how to recognize phishing in the previous email, how to protect, now the next thing I want to go over is how to protect your personal information. What can you do? A lot of personal information on your computer. You have employee information, payroll data, contracts, tax filings, loan application, credit card, and bank statement. So one of the first thing is your computer, you have this hard drive or the SSD on your computer. What can you do is you want to consider using some form of encryption, encrypt all the data on there. This is what is, if you're using Microsoft Windows 10, BitLocker is one of the technology that comes with Windows 10 or Windows 11 that you can enable to encrypt all the data on there. So what happens when you do that? What it does is it scrambles and creates this complex code that it's like it puts a lock on it of all your files that are on your local drive. And it makes it harder for anybody to try and access it. So when you log on, your drive gets, when you enable this, when you log onto your computer, the drive automatically unlocks so that you can work on it, access to your files and document. So this is where it comes in handy. Imagine that you take your computer somewhere and you forgot it at a Starbucks, or somebody breaks into your car and steal your laptop. When you use the computer, everything that's on there is locked. So the hacker or the theft can't get access to your information. So that makes it a lot more complex. However, here's the thing. When you get an email that is sent to you through phishing, and you're on the computer, the personal data that you have access to, your employees, payroll, contract, tax file, loan application, they're accessible at this time now. Because you turn on the computer, it automatically unlocks. So the drive encryption only works when your computer is turned off, but when you're on your computer, it automatically unlocks so you can work on it. So the thing is, you also have to protect the computer when it's at rest. These sensitive data, you want to put them and put it in a vault, a secure vault, so that it stores it and you only want the unencrypted files being accessed or when you need to open them. So to protect yourself in some way is that you want to make sure you have BitLocker drive encryption enabled. Second is that you want to put sensitive information into an encrypted vault. So lastly, let's talk about how do you know if you've been hacked? That's probably one of the most important things, recognizing that if your computer's been hacked or your account's been compromised. There are 5 signs that you want to pay attention to. First, your password is getting randomly reset. Second is that your email signature are getting updated. You may get a new phone number, you get a business time or title. These are common things that can happen that you find it strange. You may also be getting tons of spam messages. And the reason why is the hacker are trying to distract you from dealing with the spam instead of trying to figure out why you have all these strange things that are happening to your system. You also may be getting a bunch of pop-ups on your computer, or there's things that are seeing pop-up clicking on things on there. that you find that, this is very annoying. What should I do with this? And lastly is that you may notice that emails that are being sent out that doesn't look like it was coming from you, or you don't remember sending it out. So you got to check your sent item that why are you getting all these emails? So again, is that these are some of the things that you want to pay attention to. So we talked about how to recognize a phish, how to protect your password, how to, keep your Microsoft email account safe, how to avoid smooshing, how to avoid multi-factor authentication bypass, how to protect your personal information, and knowing if you've been hacked. So what can you do if you suspect that you've been hacked? Of course, contact your IT department or security team. Now, you want to make sure your IT department have a security team. If you just have basic IT who is doing help desk, basic essential IT with antivirus, they may or may not have the expertise or the training to detect and find out what is happening. So if you need help, have them contact us, and we can see if we can help you and understand how to detect some of this. What's the next step? As you know, we went over a lot. There's a lot that went over, and trying to put it all together and getting everything working right is hard. It's hard because the threats are constantly changing. Technology is evolving. The hackers are finding ways to bypass your security, bypass your policy, bypass whatever you put up. They're going to try and circumvent, and they're constantly working 24 hours to try and work around the security control that you have. So you want to know how you're doing. You want to start with having somebody do a third-party assessment of your environment. So it's just like having a third-party audit of your tax. You don't want an in-house audit. You probably want somebody outside to audit. And we internally work with a third-party company to audit our security in-house to make sure we get it right. Because everything we do, we just want some type of acknowledgement that a third party can help us understand what our security control. Typically, a third-party assessment, what we call a cybersecurity risk assessment, costs about $4,897 per analysis. Now, here's what we've done. We purchased 10 of these for our clients, and we have 3 left for the remaining month. And if you want to be one of the first 3 to get this, contact us to get the free cybersecurity risk assessment. Go to this URL or scan this QR code and fill out your information. And you happen to be the first 3, we will contact you and get it and help you get going. You may be asking, hey, are you the right person for this? I know you're probably thinking, this is not my job. I mean, I'm the CEO, the business owner. Here's the thing. Keeping your company secure is everyone's responsibility. Even it's just taking the simple step I share with you in this session. That's the first thing we recommend. Everybody has a stake in securing your business, keeping your money protected, and your client information. Are you completely protected is my question. So you could be thinking, we got this. I got this covered. I already have an IT person or security team that's doing this. If you're absolutely sure you're completely protected, I love to be able to give you an answer. Are you absolutely sure? So here's what we're going to do. I can give you a simple way to check this. We will send you a link to test. We don't need your admin credential. You just click on the link and see if your system is secure and protected. We don't need any credential. We won't need to install anything on your system. You just need to go and sign up, and we'll scan your system and let you know. We'll send you a simple tool that you can run to analyze your network. Then we'll sit down with you to help you understand, hey, these are what we found. These are the things that's working. These are the things that you may want to tighten up and protect yourself and your data. So you may be asking, what's the catch? Why am I doing this? So you see, this one, we can't do this for everyone. We have a limited number of resources that we can do per month, and we can only do that for the first 3 people that sign up. And if you happen to be after the 3 person, we'll put you on a waiting list to see if we can help you. Again, we usually charge, now you can charge $4,987 if you want to pay for the analysis, and we can do that as well. Our goal is, again, we're doing this for free because we feel that one of our mission is a group of IT folks like myself came together on a mission to help protect 1 million people from hackers. And performing this analysis is one of the ways that we can help that cause. So here's the link to get there. Scan this. And if you have any questions, again, please, if you have any question, put it in the chat, put it in the comment section, and I will try to answer that now. And thank you for taking the time to attend this webinar and training.